Speaking of jobs, the plan seeks to create quality jobs through innovation and enhancement of the digital economy. Creating so-called green jobs is also on the horizon.
The unemployment rate remained steady in June at 6%, with almost 3 million jobless Filipinos. However, the quality of jobs improved in the same month, with underemployment sliding down to 12.6% from 14.6% in May.
Our economic growth continues to be robust. The operating environment remains uncertain and difficult, with many challenges that must be addressed. Inflation is expected to remain elevated for as long as world prices of oil and other key commodities remain high.
Almost 3 million Filipinos remained unemployed in June. That's more than half a million joined the labor force. What do these figures mean? And beyond the numbers, are workers merely getting by amid rising prices? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to The Chiefs. Ako po si Roby Alampay. Kasama po natin online from Quezon City, Luchi Cruz-Valdes of News 5. And si Ami Pamintuan po is joining us from the Philippine Star in Manila. Chiefs, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
No.
Happy top of the week.
Akala ko, parang ayaw mo sumagot ng happy Monday, Luchi ah.
Delay yata.
Natatakot ako kasi baka may bad news na naman kayo maisip eh.
Meron bang
mag-happy-happy.
Ami, meron bang bad news o ano? Ano bang good news?
Bad news. Good news muna. Start of the week, maganda yung message ni President Marcos sa police, ano? Use force only pag reasonable sa mag-abuse. And always avoid dishonesty in carrying out their work. So tingnan natin yung compliance ng Philippine National Police doon.
Pero siyempre may couple of contexts there, di ba? First context, of course, kung saan na tayo nanggagaling with regards to what President Duterte would say. The other context, of course, yung pinag-usapan natin last week, ICC, and of course, this government trying to demonstrate that when it comes to rule of law and governance, they're trying to stay above board. And certainly, this is in fact, of course, tenor-wise, a departure from how President Duterte would usually address these things.
Titingnan natin.
Yes.
We will see. Okay, now in the meantime, of course, yung bad news, I imagine, alam ko na kung anong bad news mo, yung pag-uusapan natin tonight.
Yan na nga eh. Tumaas ng konti lang naman, hindi masyado.
Yung bad news, I think we just have to, Pero may konteksto ha, and I think that's what we ought to talk about.
Sige, so let's bring in our guest. Joining us via Zoom to discuss the latest unemployment figures, PSA Assistant National Statistician Wilma Guillen. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome once again to The Chiefs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Luchi and Miss Ami, and to all our televiewers. Good evening.
Sige, ma'am. So hindi ko na lang i-frame kung good news or bad news, but maybe let's start off with that. Give us the latest figures on unemployment and, for that matter, underemployment.
Okay. So the latest figures on employment rate in the country, that is for June 2022, is at 94%, which is the same rate as in May 2022, also 94%. But this is higher than the same period of last year, which was 92.3%. So we can see that the number of employed persons from last year's June 2021 increased by 1.52 million, and it also increased over a month ago by 508,000. For unemployment, we also have the same rate, 6% this June 2022 compared to May 2022, And it is lower than the the June 2021 figure, which was at 7.7%. Now, in terms of the number of unemployed persons, we have, as you have mentioned, around 3 million, but this is around 2,990,000, and this is 62,000 higher than the May 2.93 million, but it is lower by 781,000 compared to the June 2021. Now, we said earlier, are you saying
sige
something?
Sige pa, tuloy lang pa.
Yeah, of the total employed persons, we have a better underemployment situation for now at 12.6%, and this is lower than the May rate of 14.5% and also lower than that of the same month in 2021, which was posted at 14.2%. So we had a decrease in the unemployment rate over a month ago by 780,000 and over a year ago by 522,000. And for the we have a higher labor force participation rate, This year, labor force increased by 570,000, and out of the 570,000, we have new entrants to the labor force of 237,000. So of the new entrants, we have an unemployed of around 45,000 among the new entrants, and we have a decrease actually in the new entrants who did not get employed is around 282,000.
Okay.
So, ma'am, just to be clear, we didn't exactly lose jobs. What happened was there were new entrants who, as of June, have not yet landed any jobs, right? Parang ganon. Am I correct?
That is correct. We have new entrants who actually, who have not yet landed into any job because we have an unemployed of 45,000 out of the 237,000.
Saan kayang mga sectors?
So pag tinanggal yun, go ahead.
Yeah, saan kayang sectors yung maraming opening? Sabi, agriculture ba? Saan ba yun? Are you also tracking
industries yata?
Yes.
Thank you, Luchi. Actually, what we can give you is the major industries with the largest increase in employment.
Sige.
Because earlier, I have said that we have an increase in the employed persons, earlier I mentioned that. And these are coming from agriculture and forestry, also in public administration and defense, also in education, and also in mining and quarrying and other services. Ito yung mga nag-increase from compared to May or a month ago. Now, if we compare it over last year, the major industries with largest increase in employment are on this one, in general services, and also in agriculture and forestry, and also in administrative and support service, also on accommodation and food service activities compared to last year, and also on transportation and storage. And if we look at the occupations actually that have gained over a month ago, these are actually technicians and associate professionals, as well as plant and machine operators and assemblers.
Ms. Guillen, yung sa agriculture, are they seasonal jobs or long-term employment yan?
Yeah, mostly in agriculture are seasonal jobs, and we have seen that the increase in the employment in the agriculture sector actually these are on essential goods, the planting of crops. From May to June.
But in any case po, these are obviously clear signs of the economy opening up. Pero sa kabilang banda po, which sectors are clearly wala pa po doon? And particularly, nahihirapan tumaas ang numbers?
Okay, I can give you the major industries with the largest drop in employment. Compared a month ago, these are on wholesale and retail trade, repair of motor vehicles, and motorcycles. So dito sa wholesale trade and retail, ito lang yung mga mga non-essential na retail goods ito. Also in manufacturing, we have a decrease in manufacturing compared to the month of May, and also on accommodation and food service activities. Also on transportation and storage. We have seen that on transportation and storage, these are more on the hiring of tricycles, also on tourist coaches. I mean, so there were not much of tourism that hired vehicles from May to June, and also on financial insurance activities. Now, compared a year ago, the major industries with the largest drop in employment are also on wholesale and retail trade and repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles. In education, as you know, June, we have private schools that have closed, no? And then financial insurance activities, real estate activities, and also on public administration and defense and compulsory security, social security. So these were the industries that we have noted to have the largest drop in employment on a year-to-year comparison.
Ma'am, dumami ba yung mga self-employed? Are they included in the figures? Because well, I imagine that because of the pandemic, many former employees resigned from their jobs and probably moved on to well, maybe selling online. I would imagine. Ang dami kasing mga nagbukas ng mga home-based businesses. Meron po bang numbers on self-employed?
For self-employed who are full-time, who are on full-time employment, actually, we have 6.7 million in June compared to 6.45 in May. And compared to last year, we had 6 million last year. So there was an increase in self-employed. Yeah, self-employed without any paid employee.
But
Are you
Luchi's
also
point,
keeping track of those who are going back to their jobs? Kasi during the pandemic, we were talking about, the so-called Great Resignation. Actually, people were leaving their workplaces and just wanting to work from home. Natatrack din ba ninyo yon? Did you keep track of those cases? Are we seeing a return to old jobs?
Return to employment, no. We don't specifically track those, Ms. Luchi, no, yung return to employment. What we can only give would be the trend in the total overall employment by class of worker. Just like what was asked earlier by Ms. Ami, no, on self-employed. We can also give you those who are wage and salary workers. For the wage and salary workers, it also increased compared to last month, because for the month of June, we have 22.53 million compared to 21.1 million in May, and 20.1 million also in June 2021. And for those who are employed in own family-operated farm, this one has decreased actually. 509,000 this June compared to 527 in May, and almost the same as a year ago, which is 508,000. So again, I repeat, these are the employer in own family-operated farm or business. So it decreased compared to May, but it's just about level with that of a year ago, the same month, 2021. And for those who work without pay in own family-operated farm, actually, it has increased to 853,000 compared to 799 in May. And however, it's lower than last year, which was posted at 929,000. So that's for those who work without pay in own family-operated farm or business.
Okay, now, in the meantime, very quickly po, underemployment, ano po ang nangyari sa underemployment natin?
Ang underemployment natin actually went down to 12.3% ba? Because the reason for this that we have seen is that the number of persons who work less than 40 hours decreased in 2021. It was 37.8%. And those who work 40 hours and over have increased from 62.6% in May to 65.6% this June 2022.
Okay.
And it's also higher than last year of June.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that yung mga workplaces nila, is parang basically now more able to give them more hours? I'm imagining workplaces na basically shifted, parang shifting from full-time, part-time natin, let's spread it out para rin maraming maano, pero now they can accommodate more hours for their employees. Ganun po ba yan?
Actually, I cannot give you the whether they are on site or they are working on their own homes. But this figure would tell us that many are working more than 40 hours compared last month and compared last year, and lesser percentage are working for less than 40 hours. That's why we have an average work hours a week of 40.3%. Compared to 39.8 in May and 39 hours per week last year, June 2021.
Do you also
So in short, the underemployment is measured by the number of hours that they work. It's not a function of skill or competency, meaning that I'm a college graduate, but I'm doing the work of a high school graduate or parang undergrad. Hindi mo ba ganun?
Yeah, thank you, Ami, for asking that question. No, underemployed are persons who work less than 40 hours. Those are visibly underemployed. But we also have underemployed who are working 40 hours or more, and these are the persons who said that I have 40 hours work or I have 48 hours work, but I'm still wanting to have more number of hours work. So maybe because he would like to have a higher salary para matustusan yung lahat ng pangangailangan nila. But we are not asking the reasons for why they are already working more than 48 hours. So we have, for those who are working less than 40 hours, we call them visibly underemployed. And for those who are working 40 hours but still wanting to have more jobs or to have another job with longer hours of work, they are what we call as invisible underemployed.
Do you also keep track of yung positions? Kasi yun ang sinasabi ng ibang industries, they're finding it actually hard to get employees with the proper qualifications for the job. Do you also keep track of those?
Unfortunately, not, Luchi, no. But what we have is data on those who are not employed, but what was their previous employment. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers with me now. So when they tell us, are you employed or are you looking for work? No. And then, so what was your previous employment? What industry? And when was the last time that you had an employment? So we have that figure, but unfortunately, I don't have it in my notes right now.
Ma'am, yung pong mga kanina nabanggit nyo rin, in particular yung mga new entrants. And of the new entrants, you said about 45,000 remained unemployed. New entrants, is that just measured by age? At a certain age, you're counted part of the labor force.
No.
And do we disaggregate, for that matter, as well, people who graduate from senior high school or college? And what's the difference in their ability to find jobs?
Thank you, Roby, for asking the question. So among the new entrants, we have 6,000 who are youth. These are the youth, and those who are not. The others, would be, because our youth here is defined as 15 to 24 years old. So those who are 25 years old and over, that would be 45,000 less 6,000 youth. So those are the new entrants who are looking for work, who have no work, but they are available for work, but they have not landed into any job yet. So those are what we call the unemployed persons. They are looking for work, they are available for work, and they don't have employment now. So these are the unemployed persons. So again, I would repeat, there are 6,000 among the youth, 15 to 24 years old, who are looking for work, who are available for work, and who are currently not employed. So those are the unemployed youth, new entrants, whereas for about 36,000 would be more than 24 years old. So that would be 25 and over, who are new entrants. So ito yung maaring atin ang graduate na naghahanap pa rin, wala pang trabaho at available, gustong magtrabaho.
Meron din ba kayong record of those who are aspiring to work overseas?
We don't have that, Miss Luchi. It's Ami.
Ami po, Ami.
Ma'am, ang tanong ko, ma'am, yung mga seniors, dahil as you know, there's now a bill, to allow seniors 65 years old and up, to still work. So I'm wondering, the basis for which is marami raw mga ganong edad na kaya pa rin magtrabaho at gusto pa rin magtrabaho. Do we have figures for senior citizens of mandatory retirement age?
Okay, so this may be the 65 years old and over, Luchi? We have an employed number of persons 65 years old and over as of June, 1,076,000. For those who are looking for work, available for work, and who have no work, there are 11,000 of them. 11,000 of them. But
that's pretty small, no?
Yeah, that's pretty small. More are not in the labor force. This is around 2,683,000 as of June 2022. Yeah.
So
now, last year, go ahead.
So if they remain in the labor force, assuming that this bill becomes law, it's not like they're going to rob the new entrants of vacant positions. Kumbaga, they're not going to bring down the number of vacant seats, because that's the main objection to allowing people of retired mandatory age to continue working.
Yeah, I guess so, Ms. Luchi, because this would be those who have actually businesses, more on those who actually have businesses. Okay.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Tapos what about gender po? Marami po bang babae compared to mga lalaki?
Yeah, let me just get my notes on that. Okay. For for the labor force participation rate, well, as expected, we have a higher labor force participation rate of the males, which is 76.3% among the males, whereas for females, it's 53.2% employed among the females. Labor force participation rate. Now, in terms of employment rate of male is 94.6% compared to 93.1%. So not very high difference here. But in terms of unemployment rate, 5.4% among the males are unemployed, whereas 6.9% among the females are unemployed.
Yes, but what is the trend for both? Nag-i-improve ba yung isa while the other one is not?
Okay, in terms of the trend, the labor force participation rate of males actually has increased compared to May. For male, it was 75.5% in May, and it went up to 76.3%. So it improved in June. For females, similarly, there was an improvement in the labor force participation rate from 52.5% in May to 53.2% in June 2022. However, for the employment rate, that of males actually improved from 94.1% to 94.6%. But then that of females, it went down from 94% in May to 93.1% in June. So for unemployment rate, male, it gets better because in May there is a higher unemployment rate among males of 5.9%, and it went down to 5.4% unemployment rate among males. But among females, actually it worsened because the unemployment rate in May was 6%, and it went up to 6.9% in June for the females. Yeah.
Okay. Sayang, marami pa tayo sanang tanong, kaya lang naubusan tayo ng oras. We'll have to bring you back at some point, ma'am, para pag-usapan pa natin to. A lot of people, of course, want to understand what's going on. Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Guillen.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you, the chiefs,
Thank you,
for
Ma'am
allowing
Guillen.
us to explain our numbers here. Thank you so much.
Wilma Guillen, of course, is PSA Assistant National Statistician. And we will start up another conversation after the break. Keep it here on One News. Tomorrow, former President Fidel Valdez Ramos will be laid to rest. We give him a final salute tonight with his former DILG chief, Raffy Alunan. Mr. Alunan, welcome to the Chiefs.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening, Luchi, Ami. Good evening. Good to see you.
Sir, Secretary Alunan, I'll call you Secretary kasi nandun kayo sa kabinete ni FBR. For the past week, we've been remembering, of course, FBR. People remember him as a soldier. People remember people power. Pagkatapos, sunod-sunod yung mga reminders. Si Mayor Puentevilla said, "Uy, huwag niyo kakalimutan, sportsman yan." So we talked about him being a sportsman. Lenny De Jesus was here reminding everyone also that he was a civil engineer, reminding everyone also about his CSW, complete staff work, and so on. Kayo po, what do you remember of him that up to this point you feel that baka nakakalimutan ng mga tao this side of FBR?
Well, I think, everything that has been said by so many people these past few days really describe FBR accurately. It's so hard for one person to really describe his persona, his essence. But if you put together all of the little anecdotes, all of the praises, all of the words of affection that were shared by so many people, you can put together a beautiful tapestry, a wondrous tapestry of who FBR really was. And sa akin, it is a very biased opinion, but he was such a heroic person that he deserves to be recognized as a hero, in fact, even a national hero. And what you have to do in the media is to research whether he, in fact, deserves that particular title. I've gone through the process of looking at his background, not only because I belong to his cabinet, but because I'm really interested in the FBR as a man, as a Filipino who strove hard for his country. And actually, he's also a Rotarian, by the way. And he epitomized the motto of Rotary, service above self. The fellow was just so selfless. And he worked 25/8 for the benefit of the Filipino people and the country he loved the best.
Well, you were Secretary of the Interior, and it has jurisdiction over the Philippine National Police. What were his specific instructions to you? I'm asking because of all the controversies that have developed over the years, especially the past 6 years, with regard to the police. In your case, what was his instruction?
Well, it was, I don't know if you can call it instruction, but we all understood our roles and our duties and responsibilities. No? By the way, I presided over the uniformed services of the Philippine National Police, the Bureau of Fire, as well as Bureau of Jail and Penology. As far as law enforcement was concerned, he was always mentoring the police. I would be present in all of the command conferences, and he would tell them, if you have the opportunity to tackle or neutralize a criminal without using a firearm, do so. We've trained you with martial arts and the use of other techniques to be able to neutralize a person without killing him. Now, if there is a problem, your life could be in danger, maim him. You're authorized to shoot him in the leg or disable him. But if your life is in imminent danger, then you just have to do everything necessary to come back alive. So he emphasized on rules of engagement. And it was very critical that everybody understood the rules of engagement. Like, for example, it all starts with the order of battle. because many times without the order of battle, people are just free to, arrest or kill somebody based on whim. So order of battle is critical. Second, once the person in the order of battle is, for example, seen in public, you have to make doubly sure that he is the right person, because there are times when a person could look like the criminal, and many cases have arisen where mistaken identities have resulted in death, and injury. The third is, if you corner him, give him a chance to give up. You use every possible means to convince him to give up without fighting. But in the event that he decides to fight, then there are two things. One is maim him, disable him, neutralize him without killing him. But if your life is in imminent danger, then you better come back alive.
Yeah. Secretary, maybe...
I was telling you before we went on air, sir, that before he became president, see, FBR seemed very detached and very quiet, no? And then he turned out to be a surprise when he became president. Parang he blossomed, and then he would be such a joker publicly, no? He would quip jokes left and right, and he was pretty funny, actually. And parang we were all taken aback, those of us who knew him before he became president. No? Can you tell us a little more about that side of FVR, no?
Yeah, yes, he had a tremendous sense of humor. Well, sometimes he would give corny jokes, but they were so corny we had to laugh. like for example, when he turned 80, he celebrated in the Manila Hotel, and when he went on stage, his first words were, when I turned 40, I was told that life begins at 40. But now that I'm 80, and he goes with his signature thumbs up, I'm born again. Of course.
That's not corny.
Secretary, maybe you could give us some insights, if you don't mind, on the things that he was thinking in certain episodes of his presidency. Some were actually quite controversial. In particular, if we could go back to 1997, Cha-Cha. People forget that's the first time that people they coined the term Cha-Cha for charter change. And that's the first time we all started talking about, here's a president who wants to lift term limits and so on. What was he thinking there? Did he sincerely want another term? Ano ba yun?
I'm sorry, Rob, I won't be able to answer that because I was abroad. I was on study leave. I was at Harvard Kennedy. So by the time I got back to the Philippines, the issue was burning. It was a burning issue. And I remember writing him, telling him that it was the timing was not good. The Asian financial crisis was blowing. And if he were to, for example, run in 1998, assuming that the term limits was amended, he would be blamed. He would be blamed for all of the economic downturn and the impact on ordinary Filipinos. So I said it wouldn't be a good idea. And well, he eventually decided not to.
How did you meet him, and how did he recruit you into his cabinet?
You have to ask him that.
How did you meet?
1986. I
Okay.
met President Ramos in 1986 during the 1986 February Revolution. And subsequently, between 1986 to 1989, I crossed paths with him several times with respect to, during the times of, when the military rebels staged coup attempts. Especially in 1987 and 1989. So in 1989, we worked very closely. In 1987, I was with the Special Action Force, and it was at the tail end of that attempted coup, where I recall President Ramos talking about setting up an anti-coup force to make sure that the freedoms and the hard-fought freedom and democracy that we redeemed in 1986 would be sustained. He wanted to make sure that there would be a turnover, a peaceful turnover of the baton from President Cory Aquino to whoever succeeded her. It turned out it.
Yeah, but speaking of those coups, I'm also wondering about, the conversations and the thinking there, because one of the things that people were also scratching their heads about was, here's some coups, pagkatapos push up yung pinagawa in one particular episode. What was the thinking there? Wala bang serious debate about, baka delikado to kung di naman, if it's too light or if it appears too I mean, do you remember the conversations there and how he would process what to do with this?
No, well, I wasn't in government then, because you're referring to the incident in the Manila Hotel in 1986. I wasn't in government. But I recall that after that incident, the rebel soldiers were pardoned immediately by Minister Johnny Ponce Enrile. And actually, that was supposed to have been the responsibility of President Ramos. Had he been the one to decide, those guys would have been detained in the barracks and needed the proper punishment according to the military courts. They would have been court-martialed. But since it was already decided by Minister Enrile, so what he did, siguro, out of frustration, siguro, or out of sarcasm, he joined all those mutineers and told them to push up. Pati siya nag-push up. That's and then after that, a lot of stories came out of that, and a lot of them were derogatory towards him. But I would like to disabuse the people who don't think highly of him, that what they thought of him as being soft on soldiers and not being a disciplinarian was entirely the opposite.
But I think that his administration is believed to be, the best one in recent history. And people really credited his leadership for it. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you think made his, 6 years as president a sterling one by recent standards?
Yeah, well, to begin with, just going back a bit to on that problem of on the issue of discipline. In the first 3 months of my assumption as the ALG secretary, he called me aside and he said, "We're going to start reforming the criminal justice system, and the criminal justice system begins with the police." And as you know, the Philippine National Police was just a few years ago the Philippine Constabulary and INP. So we're going to clean house. We will start with the command group. So we met with the command group, and there were about 350 of them. And he said, "I have instructed Secretary Alunan to form a 9-man committee that will look into your records and choose at the end of the process people who will be retired early." So it was an early retirement program. And the process took 9 months because we interviewed each one of them. And when we selected those that were ripe for early retirement, we interviewed them again en banc. So that's why it took 9 months. And by the time we finished that process, this was I made the announcement on Easter Monday, the following year. 67 colonels were let go, and many of them were his friends, were his buddies. But the whole purpose was to make sure that we reinvigorate the Philippine National Police with young blood. So that's number one. Subsequently, during the next 6 years, I had to do the dirty work for him to fire or even file cases against people whom he knew very well, both in government and in the Philippine National Police. So I can say with a straight face that President Ramos was a real disciplinarian and a no-nonsense president. And the other thing was that for a person who understood counterinsurgency, which was basically winning back hearts and minds of people, he knew that the root cause of the insurgency was basically injustice. And if one were to further probe into his mind, those responsible for injustice, he would say the elite, and that the elite were responsible for decades of injustice, which is why the insurgency was boiling at the time that we were in charge. And so he embarked on a very broad campaign based on a complete understanding of the peace and development nexus, whereby you can't have peace without development and you can't have development without peace. So he embarked on a sweeping peace campaign addressing all of the rebel factions that rose against the government to reach an agreement so that we could work together in the aftermath for a just and lasting peace. That's number one. Number two, he launched the social reform agenda. Ernie Garilla was very much involved in that. And that was backed by a poverty reduction program, which included, which required the involvement of the national development councils that were organized at the national level all the way down to the municipal level. Oh, by the way, the peace and order councils were also organized accordingly from the national level all the way down to the municipal level. And in the membership of these two councils, on one side, you'd have government agencies and government departments involved in peace and order, and on the other side, civil society. And the whole purpose was to demonstrate the need for unity, solidarity, and teamwork. Today, unity, solidarity, and teamwork is known as whole of nation approach.
Yeah.
Okay?
Secretary.
So the thinking of President Ramos was very broad and very deep.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, that also included making sure that services to the public were delivered on a timely basis, and that we would never allow. We were not supposed to let the people come to us. We were supposed to go to the people to serve them. That was the signal. No, that's why we had to roll up our sleeves, because we had a lot of work to do.
Secretary, did he have any? I mean, he certainly had a lot of accomplishments, and this week and in the coming days, people have a lot of time to really reflect on the things he succeeded in and left behind. But did he have any great frustration?
Yeah, he had two great frustrations, because he wanted to settle with all of the peace, with all of the rebel factions. No, he succeeded with the RAM. That was the first group that he reached an agreement with. Second, we also inked an agreement with Nur Miswari and the MNLF. In the case of the CPLA, it's a pity that Balweg was not able to sign it because he was killed by his brother on orders of the NPA. But subsequently, the one who took over the CPLA signed an agreement with the government, so he came back. And then there was this agreement or understanding with the rejectionist faction of the CPP, NPA, and the F. The frustration was that the MILF did not sign because at that time they were very much involved with Al-Qaeda. And the other, of course, was the reaffirmist faction, the one of Joe Masis of the CPP, NPA, and the F. So those were his two major frustrations, that he couldn't get them to sign a peace agreement. And I suppose, at the end of every term of a president, there's always unfinished business. And the expectation is for the next administration to continue where they left off, especially if the policies and the programs are really meant for the common good, for the national good. But unfortunately, that's not in our political vocabulary or mindset. Every time there's a new administration, most of the things that were bequeathed to them are set aside so that they can have all the leeway to put up their own programs and to take credit for them. So that's a major frustration, the inability for administrations to continue the good programs that were started, because in so doing, a lot of money and time is wasted. A lot of money and energy is wasted by the lack of continuity or sustainability.
When was the last time you talked to him? Did he tell you about frustrations much later?
No. In his final days of retirement, we were just enjoying ourselves. We were just having a nice time. He liked meeting with his people in RPDev, and so we would just reminisce. We would crack a lot of jokes. He was a regular fellow, and whenever people would go there, even if he didn't know them and they were just ordinary people, he'd mix it up with them and have photo ops. Make sure that they feel good and welcome.
Okay. Former Secretary Alunan, sir, maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Raffy Alunan, of course, former DILG Secretary of FBR. And that's it for this episode of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed will keep the conversation going. Ako po si Roby Alampay.
I'm Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Luchi Cruz-Valdes of News 5.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.